So here we are, Miss Audrica. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us at the Pink Playhouse.
Oh, no, thank you for having me here. I'm so excited.
You're welcome. We are excited to have you. And so for those of you who don't know, Miss Audrica is a friend and colleague. She's a fellow creative person.
Yes.
And so, as you know, on the Pink Playhouse, we want to celebrate anything that's artistic, anything that's creative, anything that's fun. And so that's why I thought it was a perfect fit, knowing that you're a local,
Yes.
and that you have your own book.
I know.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I'm still shocked.
You know, I have to tell you just that I really am just so honored to be your friend and colleague, and
Yes.
because a lot of us have dreams, and I could do that, or I wish I could do that, but we don't ever do it. There's a lot of steps.
Yes.
And I'm in the process right now, and I know it's a lot of steps.
Yes.
It's a lot of investment, and all of those things, and you did it.
I know. I'm still shocked.
You're a doer and not just a talker.
I really try to live by that. I really try to just do it. It's like, because, as creative people, we have all kind of projects in our head. And I'm sleeping like, oh, that's a good idea. How many hours of sleep do we get, with everything in our head? And I had it for years before I even wrote the book in my head, just playing it around with our daycare kids. And they loved it. And then I got with my illustrator, DeMar Douglas. I got with my uncle, Jeff Strange, and we just created this book together. And I'm still like, oh, I have a book.
It's something to celebrate.
Yes.
We're here celebrating today
Yes.
with Miss Audrica, because it's not enough just to say, oh, I want to do this, or maybe you are creative enough to write it, but to put together a book is a huge endeavor. And congratulations. And that's what we're here to celebrate, is you, celebrate you.
Thank you so
and then
much.
Also, we're going to have you in a little bit read the story so that all of your followers can enjoy it.
Okay.
And we can just share and share.
Okay.
The message, one thing that I think is interesting is that this is not a new book. You wrote this some time back.
Yes.
So could you talk about that?
Sure. I believe it was 2014-15 when I actually got the whole book done and self-published it. My uncle has a publishing company, and so I was like, hey, let's do it together. He has Black Hole Publishing, and because I just like to write. I always tell people I'm a writer. I don't do no artwork. I do stick figures. And when I got with DeMar, I just told him the story. He just put it in paint.
He did
love
the
such a beautiful job. And then when he got it done and got the words, my uncle formatted it and we packaged it up, and actually, like, I'm still like shocked, like, I have a book.
The illustrations are so colorful, they're friendly, but they still make a point. Obviously, Germie the Wormy, it's to advise children to be clean, to not get germs.
Right, exactly.
But so, and she'll go over the story in a little bit, but Germie the Wormy, this is the interesting part, though, because he's kind of cute and friendly.
Yes.
But germs are not cute and friendly.
No, not at all.
But I think that you introduce him into the story to where he's, it's not what you want to have, but it still gets the point across. But he's not so gross that
like
you turn
scary.
away from it.
Yes, exactly.
So I feel like you and the illustrator did a nice job of interweaving the concept of, you don't want germs,
right? But
he kind of is a sort of a friendly character.
Yes, he's friendly.
Germie the Wormy. So how did you come up with this name, Germie the Wormy?
Actually, because we have a child. My mom's been doing daycare now for 30 years, I think.
30 years.
Yeah, because I'll be 41 in this summer, and I think I was working with her when I was like 15. So we've always had kids around us, and so me and the kids were, when they come inside, I'd be like, wash your hands, or Germie the Wormy, and it was just like we just played around with it until this day. The kids, oh, Germie the Wormy, like they know. I have 1-year-olds so I can go up to the sink and wash their hands. And then what better way to use it as like a rhyme?
Right.
And so we were just playing around with it, and I just put the story together in my head just how I'm playing with the kids. Like, if you don't wash your hands, Germie the Wormie is gonna, and they really got excited. I'm like, if they can get excited about it, why not write it into a story? So
and you did, and it's interesting because so you have your mom's daycare, home daycare,
Yes.
and then you have almost your AA
Yes.
in early childhood education.
Yes.
And you've done this for a bazillion years. And you
Yes.
put all that information into this beautifully put together book that's entertaining, but it also has a point.
Yes.
There's a message
There's
to
a
it.
message, right.
And so now, so this was 5 years, no, in 2015 you said.
Yes, 2015.
So yeah, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now he made a resurgence.
He
So
did.
why now?
That is a good question. You know what? I honestly, with all the pandemic going on and everything about the hand washing and keeping ourselves clean and hand sanitizer, one of my cousins was like, this would be a perfect time to do the book. And I'm like, the book? Like, because I put it away. You know, honestly, like, I'm like, oh, it's a project. It's done.
It's never done.
Let's move on to another.
Right.
And even my mom's like, what are you going to do with your book? And I'm like, you know, you're so busy. And this gave me the opportunity to, like, dig up some stuff and, like, hey, I still actually have something that can actually help kids. You know, parents maybe they don't know how to talk to their kids about COVID-19, but we can do it in a fun way and say, hey, kids, wash your hands so you don't get germs, you know. When we go outside, when we come from inside, like even sometimes as adults, we have to we have to remind ourselves, well, I just came from outside, I don't know what I touched. Wash my hands, you know, as we're going in and out.
Shoot, the adults. I think this is a good adult
book. Yes, adults can buy it.
I mean, there's just people that are not abiding by the CDC guidelines at all.
Exactly.
And so it's, even though it's written for children, it's really something that all of us need to be reminded.
From 0 to 100.
Right?
Always wash your hands.
Always wash your hands. And
Yes.
one of the things and you'll see this in the story, but I don't want to give too much away, but one of the things that I love about the book is how Germie just pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
He just kind of like, it's kind of like, where's Waldo?
Yeah.
You know, but where's Germie?
Right.
And so you turn the page, you're like, where's he going to show up? Yeah.
He's on his shoulder,
Yeah.
you know, somewhere. He's like that little pest, you know, that's just always bugging you, you know.
Good
and
point.
that's what that kind of in my head, I'm like, let's kind of have him, because germs are everywhere. So it's like, let's kind of have him just pop up. And that's why the little boy's like, I don't want to go to school because there's germs are everywhere, you know. And so if we teach kids at a young age how to be clean, how to wash their hands, I mean, I have to literally keep kids out of the sink because they know, oh, I just sneezed. Let me go wash my hands. And which is good practices for kids. You know, healthy practices for kids. Hand washing is the best practice that you can, you know, give kids. And especially with working in early childhood and being in the field so long. I mean, that keeps kids, it goes a long way. Cleaning after yourself, washing your hands, making sure you're healthy is always the best practice for young kids and adults too, but I mean,
It definitely is, and it's, you know, because I've shared with you that my background is in early childhood education.
Yes.
So before I was a therapist, many years ago, my first job out of high school was to be a preschool teacher.
Oh, nice.
And so I have my background and my basis in early childhood education,
Awesome.
but that education now it stays with you
stays with
because
you, yes.
I use it now in my therapy practice, some of those very basic things. But one of the things that children of all ages don't like to hear about is being clean.
Right.
It's not a fun thing. Like, you know, clean your room, clean your hands.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of, they feel like you're just nagging them all the time. But this is a gentle way
Yes.
to say, hey, this is what you need to do for your
Yes,
hygiene.
Exactly. And it just,
Yeah.
it goes, I tried to get as many angles of hygiene as I could, you know, even with just the brushing your teeth, you know, like kids, you know, you just got to just stay on them. And then when they get adults, they'll remember, because we remember. I know I remember.
Germie the Wormy. So one of the things that, you know, I shared with Athena, and she, I read the story to her, and because of the rhythm in the story that's very sort of easy to follow, she she picked it up right away. And it wasn't exactly word for word like what it said in the story, but she really had the gist of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, read me the story. And she's like, Germie the Wormy was always there. You know, and when you don't wash your hands, Germie the Wormy's always there. And so, you know, she kind of made up her own little version, but that's it. The message was there. And I'm like, yes, it's working.
Yes.
So I have a couple of other questions that I wanted to ask you just in terms of the process. Like, so when in your creative life, because you said you're 41?
I'll be 41.
41 is still single.
I know.
41 is still single.
Right? Almost 41.
But you know what? It's okay.
It is. The movie's coming out soon.
I know. ...
Yes.
That's another show for another day.
Exactly.
We just have to come back and talk about that one.
Right.
So for those of you who don't know, Audrica also is a playwright and a script writer and an actress.
Yes.
So and in addition to all that, she has a regular day-to-day job.
Yes.
That us creative people have to do. It's like we have to contain all of our dreams and hopes, and it's like, oh yeah, but I still have to make money.
Right.
I have to live.
I have to survive.
Right. It's like, oh
until
yeah.
I get that big check.
That part. So see, when you purchase her book, you're supporting her creative lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause it's something.
That's right.
Yeah.
So my question is, when did you first in your life determine, I want to write a book, or I'm going to be an author?
You know what? It actually came as an adult.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I really started off into acting growing up watching. I was a homebody, so I always watched all, sitcom shows, TV shows, so my whole thing was wanting to act. And then when I got, into probably my 30s, because I actually do write a little music too. Not so much poetry, but songwriting. I started doing some songs, and then the book just came like late in life. It just made sense. And I'm like, well, if I'm writing music, if I'm writing plays, why can't I write a book?
Yeah.
I haven't really tapped into like a novel type of book or anything like that, but I'm like, baby steps,
Well, I mean, I guess it all depends on how you look at it, because writing a script for a play is a story.
Right.
It's all about the story.
Right.
We're storytellers.
We're storytellers, exactly.
That's what we are. Storytelling, I mean, as a therapist, people come and share their story with me.
Yes.
And so I have the honor and the privilege to work with people, sometimes to listen to their story, but also to help them rebuild their story, or to change the outcome. If they're not happy with what's going on, it's like, okay, how do we change that narrative?
Right.
And so you're doing that also through your creative process. So
yes.
we're very much the same.
Same, yes.
Just our goals are a little bit different, but
we're
the
one
same
and the
thing.
same, yes, and they all go together. It's like you said, if you don't like something, but they're like, you have the pen, and you just write your script. Like, I would have never in a million years would even think, because I had literally put the book down, like, oh, it's just a little something I did, but it's obviously something that people are still like interested in. And I just sold the last of my books. I ordered another 50. And, the last of them, people were like, oh, how do you get the book? And I'm like, oh, okay.
And, one of the things, and you and I have talked about this on our little sidebars, that as creative people, we're really good at this part.
Yes.
Creating the story, having the ideas, staying up all night with just ideas.
Yes.
And then you need to execute. But it takes an investment. It takes a lot of money for point A to point B to point C.
Yes.
But when you're able to do that, it's really remarkable. And but that's also part of the discipline. That's the not fun part.
That's the point. That's a lot of missed meals. A lot of I can't go today. Because it's like you have a cost. It's like it takes years to really see your progress, and as far as monetary. So it's like right now it's just like the passion of it, to see the kids' face light up when they see Germie. So that's my, like, okay, I can work extra few hours because I know I'm gonna do this book, or I know I'm gonna do this
well,
show.
I believe, like how right now you buy the books 50 at a time,
Yeah.
right? So that you can sell them and still sustain.
Right.
But there's going to be a point where you're going to be buying them by the hundreds and then by the thousands, and you just got to claim it.
Yes.
And you just got to own it, and you got to believe it and just be like, come on, friends and family, come
Get
on
your
now,
book.
make this happen for me. This is not just a hobby.
Right.
This could be your living.
Right.
And as it should be, because
Yes.
even though we've done so much now technologically, you know, people can, you can do the ebook version and stuff.
Right.
But even aside from that, I still love a book.
Yes.
I want to hold it. I want to turn the pages.
Yes.
I like the smell of a book.
Right.
You
Fresh
know,
from the printer. It's like,
it's like I love a book.
yes. It's like a new car smell, right?
Yeah, you don't want
Yeah.
a virtual car.
Right.
You
You
want a
want a book. Yeah. I want to get in my car.
That's right. You know, even like textbooks, you know, as I'm still in school,
School,
still always
right.
going to school. But, you know, now you can get all the textbooks like online and stuff.
and
But it is not the same.
It's not.
I don't know if anybody out there
I know. I had to get me a textbook going to school.
follows what I'm saying. But,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I can read it online, but it's like I need the book. It's
Yes.
like I like to turn the page and I
Pages,
find
look
it.
it,
When I'm doing
yeah.
it on the thing, it's like I have a hard time
have a hard
finding it. I'm
time.
like, what is this? Where are books?
Right.
Give me books.
I
Give
need
me
it
paper.
physically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think that, I mean, but I understand, and that's interesting too, that when you're talking real talk,
Yes.
so it sounds glad. You know, I'm an author.
Yeah.
Audrica McPeters, the author and
Yes.
poet
Right.
and actress
Right.
and blah, blah, blah.
And blah, blah,
But it's
blah.
like, but people don't know the grind.
They don't. They don't.
The grind.
It's real.
The grind is very real. I know
real.
this to be true because, you know, I have a son who's an artist, hip hop artist, and you can, you know, he's a great lyricist.
Yes.
And he's got a lot of connections and he's doing his thing.
Yes.
He's doing his thing. But
Yes.
I have been with him on that journey.
Yes.
And it's a lot of time, a lot of investment.
A lot of
because
investment.
the old school way of where you know, being signed to a label kind of thing,
Yes.
that doesn't really exist much anymore. That's just not heard of it. Everybody's doing their own digital
Right.
music, just like self-publishing.
Yeah, it's the same.
Self-publishing used to be sort of snubbed at, like, oh, are you really published or are you self-published?
Self-published,
Like,
right.
oh, you just bought your own book.
Yes.
No, it's like, no, this is the preferred way nowadays. I
Right.
mean, unless you were like somebody like Judy Blume, or
Right.
you know, it's like, okay,
Exactly.
they already have their
someone big just
huge,
picks up your,
huge,
right,
you know, Stephen
right.
King's and stuff. They're different because they get paid up front
Right,
and you know all
yes.
that. But the if you're not Stephen King and you're
Right.
not Judy Blume,
Right.
self-publishing is no longer snubbed at. It's like
Right.
it's a business.
It's a business, exactly, and that's really how you have to look at it. Like I used to think, oh, I'm just doing this for fun. It's you know, it's no, you know, even with my plays when I started playwriting, I'm just doing it for fun, and I have people have to tell me like, no, it's a business.
You've got to earn your
Yeah,
keep.
you gotta earn. And I'm like, they're like, you can't give discounts, you can. I'm like, but I don't care. It's just for fun. You know, because I just have the passion for it. And, you know, but it's really, now that I'm seeing, like, you know, it took a long time to, like, acknowledge, like you said, speak it, that, oh, wow, it is a business. Like, it is something that's real. It's not something that you could just go to the side and.
If you keep your sights short, that's as far as you're going to go.
Right.
If you want to make this as part of your career, you know, and I know you've talked about that. We've talked about that. We have to keep our 9 to 5 in order to do all these
what
extras.
oh, yes.
But at some point, you know, if you wanted to switch around, and this is where, like, you know, I've invited you here, so I thank you
Yes,
for coming.
yes,
You're going to
thank
share your
you.
story in a minute. But, you know, really a plea and an invitation to our guests
Yes.
to be like, you know what? To truly support, you know, a thumbs up on a Facebook or on Instagram, that's all great. But you know what? What you really need to do is purchase the book. If you don't need it, buy one for somebody in your
little kid,
family.
yes.
Donate it to a school.
Yes,
You know, because
schools, exactly.
this is where artists
Yes.
survive. This is
Yes.
your food.
This is your food. This is how we eat.
This is how you eat.
Yes.
So, you know, but I think a lot of times people are like, oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
You know, that's such a nice, oh, that's so
That's
nice
so
that you're
great.
doing
It's
that.
cute.
You know, it's cute. Oh, that's so nice that she's doing that. But it's like, okay, yeah, but take it to the next step.
Yes.
It's an invitation to
Yes.
step up.
To step up. And it's like, everyone's like, well, I don't know any rich people. Hello. You know, I don't know any millionaires. Well, hello. You know, if you know, I just feel like if we all really got behind artists that you know, they make it, we make it. That's how I feel. Like, it's a village. Like, we live in the desert, in the valley. Like, it's like we have to.
Like from where?
Yeah,
India?
India. Yeah. I have
India?
to, like,
Where's India? Oh,
yeah,
you're from
India. Yeah. Like, is that way over there in the mountains? Like, is it over the mountains?
Yeah.
And it's like when I say India, they're like, India.
And then you go, oh, you mean, it's kind of by Palm
Springs, yeah. I would say, well, I am, Palm Springs, because
or Coachella.
Or Coachella, yeah.
Now you have to
Coachella's big.
yeah. We're like, oh,
okay,
now I know what it is. Now I know what you're talking about.
No, yeah, exactly. But it's like, there's so much talent in the desert, and I feel like if we all got behind each other, then hey, the sky is the limit.
Absolutely. We've answered a lot of the things I had wanted to ask, but I wanted to ask you 2 more questions.
Okay.
Who's your biggest fan?
My biggest fan? Oh, man, that's a good question. My biggest fans, I want to say, besides my parents, are probably my biggest fans.
There you go.
They're probably my biggest. I would say my biggest fans.
Yes,
so very supportive parents.
That's wonderful.
And outside of that, maybe my nieces. I have three nieces. I'm a great aunt and an aunt. So I think my nieces, they love because it was dedicated to my niece. I dedicated the book to my niece. She's gonna be 10. And I think she was 5 when I first wrote it. So I want to say my nieces and just kids. I think kids are, I have a lot of friends, adults and, friends and family. But I want to say kids really are my biggest, I don't know what it is. But I can keep a kid with my eyes closed, basically, and it's like, I just think it's, I got it from my mom's, she's been having her daycare. We've always had a good, rapport with the community, and and it's like
you said how many years
she's been oh my gosh, I want to say 25, 30. Like, she's been
that's a long time to have a daycare, and to that's a tough business to run in this day and age where they close you down.
Yes, for any little thing. Yes, and we're accredited, and the licensings, we're licensed and accredited, and so I guess just being under her, for so long.
One thing you don't know is, so years ago, like years and years and years ago, I lived across the street from your family.
That's
I remember
right.
I shared.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we were looking for childcare at that time for JC, my son, who is now 27.
Right.
But so she's been around at least that long.
Yeah.
But so she had taken me on a tour. And I was just like, I was so impressed at how clean it was, how developmentally appropriate it was, her energy. It was like, it was very well structured, but also very homey.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yes.
And so I remember that even back then, all those years ago.
Wow.
And we were going to have him go, but I forgot something happened in my schedule that I didn't need to have a childcare. But so I ended up not using it. But anytime anybody had asked for a recommendation, I'm like, well, I've never gone there, but I went and interviewed, and I think this lady's got it together.
Yes.
And then years later, who would have known?
I know, and then I know Yvette. Like, it's like we've been friends forever, because I know.
Because we know friends
and family.
When you live in the desert, or
it's
Latinos, we're related to everybody.
I'm like, we're like cousins anyway.
Yeah. Somewhere in the long line.
Somewhere down the line, I'm Latina somewhere.
I'm sure you are.
I just gotta learn how to roll the R.
So there you go. So my brother-in-law, my little brother-in-law, who was Steven, used to hang out with Steve.
Yes, Steven Fahar. Yes,
yeah.
Sirocco. Those.
Oh, and then there was another little boy, John.
Yes.
They would hang out
and everything.
Camp out.
Yeah.
And all that.
Right, the little push carts down the street.
Oh my gosh,
we had a little clique, the Sirocco. It was called something.
Sirocco Club.
Yeah.
They were like the Little Rascals or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember Steven, Yvette. Those are your neighborhood friends are always your first friends, and that's just so crazy how it comes back.
It does. It's so
back
crazy.
around. Yeah.
It's wonderfully crazy.
Yes.
And then, so last question. Okay. So far, you're young still, but up to this point, what is your greatest lesson in life?
My greatest lesson in life is probably just self-confidence, having enough confidence to know that you can do whatever. You can't let people stop you. You can't let, discouragement stop you. You can't say, let excuses stop you from doing things. Because if that's the case, I would have not done this book. I would have not done anything. I would have just been like,
Yeah,
I
because
can't do it.
it's like, who gave you the audacity to think that you could do this?
Exactly.
Like, why you?
Why? I mean, and sometimes I think like, oh man, like, it's like I downplay my own self sometimes, and I'm like, well, God might kind of think I'm pretty cool, He kind of, God, he actually gave me a little brain. I still have a little, creative brain, and I'm like, he chose me to do this, and no matter how much I want to, oh, it's just a book, it's whatever. It always
I can't do it.
and I can't do it, and I'm not gonna, I literally had to dig it back up because I wasn't gonna do it, and the pandemic was actually a way of like, hey, I know this is 5 years old, but get it back out,
Germie came back.
Germie came back with a vengeance, and
He did.
everybody.
It was a pandemic.
Yeah, in the pandemic, and it's like you shouldn't be. It's like we're all supposed to, of course, quarantine like for months, and it's just like, hey, like if they want Germie, I'm gonna sell Germie, and it's been going really good, and it's just I think confidence is probably the biggest thing that I've had to learn as a adult, as a young woman, not to let anybody shy you away from your dreams and your goals, and you just got to do it. Doesn't matter what anybody else is doing around you. Stay on your path, because I would have never thought I'd be here, in a million years.
What about, so you have a lot of support, but what about haters? Do you have any of them?
If I do, they haven't said anything, but I'm sure I do. It's like no one ever really will tell you, like you said, who
to
does
your
she?
face.
Yes, like, oh, who does she think she is? Like, like she's just a little, she's just a little black
she's
girl.
all of that.
Yeah, she's just a little black girl from India. No one comes out of India, or no one comes out of the desert. Or,
But we do.
We do, exactly. And it's like, hey, like, it's okay to think you're all that. It's okay. If they don't think it, I don't have to worry about them, because they're not obviously paying my bills.
So like, I
pay my bills, like whether Germie's around or anything. It's like, I'm sure there's always going to be that one person they like you, but they don't like you.
It sounds to me like you don't give that attention.
I don't. I used to, and at first I used to, because I'm like, well, why don't they support, or why? But afterwards I was like, whoever's going to support is going to support. And I appreciate even from when I first started doing plays, I've always had a good, group of people that would come to my plays, and they would come support. And it's like, and after a while, it's like, whoever comes, just do it. Mm-hmm. And like, just like the book, whoever buys it. And of course, I'll always have another project. So on to the next. If Germie doesn't make it, I have another book coming soon.
So I wanted to actually, this is another question,
okay.
But and then we'll get into the story time.
Okay.
So my question is, obviously we're going to hear about Germie in a minute.
Yes.
They're going to hear the story. But what else can we expect from Germie? What other things do you have that we can look forward to?
We do actually have a workbook that comes with Germie. It's like crossword puzzles, and just connect the dots, for kids. Kids,
like
a coloring book. Okay. And I'll be getting that ordered soon. And I want to do a audiobook. I think it'll be fun to kind of have it on cassette, because like you said, I like books.
Cassette. Really?
A CD.
Cassette.
That's how old I am.
How about an 8-track?
8-track.
I'll put on an 8-track of Germie the Wormy.
I meant to see.
It's all right, because I know what you were talking about.
We don't even have that in our cars.
Not even the CDs.
Not even
my car? It's only the thingy for
the iPad, Bluetooth, right?
Those cords. They don't have the.
A lot of them are doing away with
the CD anymore.
Right. So something audio and something. Animated.
So you want to do the voices?
The voices, yes, and just maybe get a few actors in a studio and just kind of read it like.
Well, when you do,
Okay.
please reach out to your girl.
I will.
Because I love that, and I could do different voices too.
Okay, yes.
It'll be fun.
Yes, it will. And I believe once I read the story, like I can map out, like, I'll have a narrator, and then I'll have different, people come in and do the voiceovers. And it's only like 3 or 4 people. We're still not a big group. We won't be breaking any rules or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I really would like to see audiobooks and a little animation. And, who knows? The sky's the limit, I guess.
We had talked about in one of our sidebars that you would even like to do like a little workshop with Jermie, like maybe
Yes.
even like with doing something with puppetry and
Yeah.
stuff like that. 'Cause
Yes,
This
exactly.
little guy is screaming for a puppet.
He needs a puppet.
If anybody out there knows how to create or knows how to sew, Jermie needs to come to life.
He needs a puppet.
He really does.
needs
Or
a
he
puppet.
needs friends that,
Yeah,
all that. But
all
he's
that.
just all of
He
that.
needs his homies.
Jermie and his
homies.
homies. Chapter 2. Jermie and
And
the
his
homies.
homies.
Oh my God, that is hysterical.
I know, right?
He's like,
I know. He come in his little red hat. Kind of like, remember when Bill Cosby, Little Bill?
Oh,
Jeremy
yeah.
and his homie.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be so cool. And,
Fat Albert.
Fat
Remember?
Albert, yeah.
Back
I
in the
love
day.
those. Oh my God, those are the best. Those are the best. So,
But what happened to Bill? But that's another story.
I know, right?
That's another story.
Well, that's another
For another
day.
day. That's another day. We'll let Lee
Yes.
show talk about that one.
Yes.
So, without any further ado, I know your guests want to hear the story. So I want to thank our guests
Thank you.
from Expressive Arts and Psychotherapy of the Pink Playhouse for joining us. Thank you all for joining us. And I'm going to step out of the way because now you're going to get
my
Miss
turn.
Audrica. It's all her. And you get to enjoy telling your story.
Oh my
So
God,
thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.